So we have seen the reflex actions. Reflex actions help the organisms to protect themselves from dangerous stimuli and to produce quick responses in case of different stimuli. So when an organism is able to produce a response without any brain, then what is the necessity of brain? You see the lower forms of organisms, different animals. If you see the lower phylums, Annelida, Arthropoda, in these cases, even though they don't have very well developed complex brain and all, even though they don't have well developed complex nervous system, they're able to produce the reflex action so quickly, isn't it? If you try to catch a cockroach, any insect, it escapes so quickly from your hands. It is not easily caught by you. That means its reflex action system is very quick and very effectively responding. So this reflex actions, whatever are there in these lower level of organisms, they are evolved. So we are evolved, most evolved organism, human beings. Even though we have the basic reflexes like other smaller animals, we have some complex nervous tissue is evolved into brain, a complex organ which can do more than the reflex actions. So reflex actions, they are up to a certain thing, but beyond that, something can be done by the nervous system. Animals, lower forms of animals, they can produce reflexes and protect themselves. But if you see the higher animals like human beings, we have that intellectual power, intelligence. So we are the intelligent animals in the animal kingdom. We are able to think, we are able to memorize, we are able to learn, we are able to produce, create something, we are able to put our ideas. So all this happens in human beings. This is all possible because of the complex organ, human brain. So if you see the evolution of the nervous system in different organisms there, if you see the human beings, they have the most well developed and complicated nervous system. Here the most important organ is the brain. If you see the classification of nervous system in human beings, the nervous system is basically categorized into two parts, CNS and PNS. What this CNS stands for? Central Nervous System. And what is this PNS? Peripheral Nervous System. What is Central Nervous System? What does it comprises of? The Central Nervous System is made up of two organs. Those are the brain and the spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord together comprise the Central Nervous System. Central Nervous System is just like a CPU of a computer. You are using a desktop or a laptop. It will be having a CPU, Central Processing Unit. In the same way, in our body, the processing of various information data, the sense whatever the stimuli, whatever the changes in the environment and whatever, so it is processed in our Central Nervous System, that is the brain and spinal cord. What is peripheral nervous system? The brain and spinal cord are connected to different body parts through the peripheral nervous system. Again, the peripheral nervous system, PNS, is divided to two. One is cranial nervous system and the other one is spinal nerves. Here we can see the picture of brain and spinal cord. Spinal cord is the extension of the brain. So this brain and spinal cord, these two together called central nervous system, and we can see some nerves arising from the brain. We call them as cranial nerves, and we see some nerves arising from the spinal cord to the peripheral sides. We call them as spinal nerves. So these cranial and spinal nerves together, they constitute the peripheral nervous system. So this is the categorization, classification of the nervous system. So now we are at this point. In the central nervous system, we are at the point of brain. So what is this brain? What is its function? What are the various parts of it? Let us see. Brain is an organ, important organ of the nervous system, which is made up of very soft tissue, which comprises a lot of water. Most of our brain is made up of water. It is very sensitive and delicate organ. As it is very sensitive, very delicate, very important, it has to be well protected. See, the delicate organs and important organs of our body are well protected by the skeletal system. You see, your heart and lungs are protected by the ribcage in your chest cavity, as they are very sensitive, delicate, as well as very important organs. In the same way, the brain is also very delicate, sensitive, important, complex organ. It is protected in a hard, bony skull called as cranium. So, cranium is a hard, bony skull. It is made up of some bones which do not have any joints. All the bones are fixed together. So, it is like a shell which gives protection to the blows. Something may fall on your head, or you may fall down and hit something. So, in such cases, the cranium, it gives protection to the brain. So, cranium is also called as skull. Inside the cranium, here the brain is embedded. The brain is again covered by some layers, membranes. So, here there are some membranes that are surrounding the brain. Above the membranes there is a cranium. These membranes are filled with some fluid called as cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid. So, this cerebrospinal fluid, it gives nourishment, protection to the brain. So, this is how the brain is protected, and this is the place where the brain is located. Now, let us see what are the parts of the brain. The brain is mainly divided into three parts according to the functions they carry out. Actually, what are the functions of brain? So, we already discussed that we have some extra abilities when compared to other organisms, other animals. What are those? We have intelligence. We have different sensors, different centers in our brain to receive the different information, to read the different information. So, the brain, it consists of different centers to identify the colors, to recognize the colors, to recognize the smells, to recognize the different odors or flavors, to recognize different tastes, to appreciate the aesthetic beauty, to appreciate the music. So, we have different centers to listen the sounds, understand the sounds, analyze the sounds. So, this is all done in this part of the brain which we call it as forebrain. So, this upper part of the brain which mainly consists of cerebrum is called as forebrain. The forebrain consists of cerebrum. So, here it has got various centers: auditory center, olfactory center for reception of smell, auditory center for reception of sounds. So, all this. So, here our sense organs are connected to these centers where the changes in the environment are analyzed and understood there. And forebrain is the place where the memory, the information is stored in our brain. We can memorize many things. You have to memorize your answers, questions and different things, formulae, definitions, all these things for your examination. This is all done in your forebrain, where the information is, data is stored in that, and you can get back the data. Not only storing the information, your brain, your forebrain has got another capability, that is logical thinking, problem solving. So, you have some question in your mind. So, you are thinking of the question for a long time. You are doing some kind of experiments based on that question, or you are doing some kind of research, you are referring something there. You may relate so many things what you have referred, and finally you may come to a conclusion. That means you are finding a solution to a problem. That is the ability of your brain. So, you have intelligence, you have application of the knowledge, the learned knowledge, whatever the basic things we learn in our daily life or in your classroom or in your laboratory, you may apply these things at some other place to solve a problem. That is all done by the brain. Now, here which part of the brain is responsible for all this is the forebrain or the cerebrum. So, here we have learned that the forebrain is the part of the brain which is the major center for reception of various information. That is the hearing, sensing of smell and the sight, all these are associated to this forebrain. Here it has got a special part to identify your hunger and feeling full. So by that you can decide whether to stop eating or eat more. So this is all happens in the forebrain. Now if it is those are the functions of the forebrain, then what does this midbrain and hindbrain does? If you look at this picture, you can see this major part. Here you can see so many folds in the brain, just like our intestines. Do you know why these many folds are there in your brain? Because when there are folds, a lot of surface can be fit into a small area. So your brain has got so many nerve cells, and all these nerve cells are fitted in a very small area because of these folds. So folds, they provide large surface area. So here you can see so many folds in the cerebrum, and this part of the brain is called as midbrain, and you can see the midbrain, its continuation with this particular part called as hindbrain. So the brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. So this hindbrain consists of pons, medulla and cerebellum. Three parts are there. Let us see what is the function of this midbrain and this hindbrain. The voluntary functions, your consciousness, your decisions, your ideas, your thoughts, your appreciation, your enjoyment, everything is there in the forebrain. But so many things happen without your notice, without your thinking, without your decision. You are conscious, unconscious, involuntary actions takes place in your body, which are very essential, which should happen continuously to keep you stay alive. What are they? Your digestion. You are not giving any instruction to your intestines to, yes, I have eaten an apple, come on, digest it. You are not giving any instruction. Automatically the apple is digested. Who is controlling that? You are not always telling your heart to come on, beat, beat. No, you are not giving any instructions to your heart. But it is instructed. It is controlled. That is done involuntarily. So this way, in your body, many activities are involuntary. Many movements are involuntary. So these involuntary movements are controlled by the midbrain and hindbrain. They take up the control of these involuntary functions. Certain activities in our body like blood pressure, control of blood pressure, salivation, vomiting. If something goes wrong into your throat, you vomit it. So that vomiting, all these are controlled by this medulla. Medulla is a part of the hindbrain. Medulla controls those. Vomiting, salivation, blood pressure. So all these involuntary functions are controlled by the midbrain and this hindbrain. What does this cerebellum does? The cerebellum does, it helps in maintaining a balance in your posture. We are able to maintain a balance in our posture. It is because of the cerebellum. Right? So if you know physics well, how we are able to stand? We are keeping our body to the center of gravity. We are bringing the center of gravity to the center of our body always by making the weight adjustment. Otherwise we may fall down. But who is making this balance? Who is adjusting your body parts according to their weight equally on both sides, not to make you fall? You make your different postures while dancing, while playing, while fighting, while jumping. Even then you are not falling. Your body weight is adjusted all the times equally on both sides of the point center of gravity. So by that is maintained by whom? That is nothing but the cerebellum. It maintains the posture of your body. Means you are able to balance your body because of the cerebellum. If there is any defect with the cerebellum, if it does not function properly, you lose your balance. It all happens when you wake up suddenly from sleep. Your cerebellum is not totally active. So you may be falling like this and you may not be able to control your posture. So when you sleep on upstairs on terraces, if you wake up suddenly, do not walk quickly. Just stay calm for some time, let your brain completely activated, then you can come down from the terraces. Otherwise there may be a chance of falling from the steps or from the ceiling, that is from that slab. So it is very useful in controlling, in maintaining the balance or the posture of the body. Sometimes it loses the balance when the person is drunkard, cerebellum is affected, the person is not able to maintain the balance. So you might have seen the drunkards, the over drunken people walking on the roads, losing their control. Their bodies are not controlled, their postures are not controlled. So not balanced. So that is what done by the cerebellum. So involuntary functions of our body, the regular activities which carries on even though you sleep, you take rest, your conscience is at rest, but your heartbeat is going on, your breathing is going on, your blood pressure is maintained. All this happens even though when you sleep. So that is controlled by these parts. So you can see the various parts of the brain and taking the various kinds of responsibilities, that is to control the movements of your muscles. So when there is no control on the movement of the muscles, you cannot maintain any posture, you cannot maintain anything, even though you cannot speak. When you are speaking, the muscles in your tongue, the muscles in your jaws, the muscles in your lips and cheeks all must be coordinated. Otherwise, you are not able to produce a sound. And at the same time, the muscles which are there in the vocal cords, they should be contracted and relaxed. So that is also should be controlled. If movements are not controlled well, you are not able to execute any action. You might have seen the damage to the nerves happened in certain cases like people who are paralyzed. If you see a person suffering from paralysis, paralyzed body parts, if any of the side, either left side or right side is paralyzed, you can see they are not able to produce any kind of movements in their body parts. So it is very pathetic condition. So that shows us the importance of the nervous system. We are able to live so comfortably, we are able to defend ourselves, we are able to protect ourselves, we are able to do various activities, physical activities, movement in our bodies, movement from one place to another place. This is all achieved by controlling the various muscles. Movements are controlled by the nervous system. So in this lesson we have learned the point that movements in animals are controlled by the nervous system. Nervous system is made up of central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is made up of brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system is made up of cranial nerves and spinal nerves. This is what we have learned. And we learned one more important thing. In many cases, to produce a response to a stimuli, to make the responses quick, instead of taking the information to the brain for analysis, spinal cord takes the decision itself. Such responses are very quick. Such quick responses are called as reflexes. And the part which involves in taking a reflex action is called as reflex arc. So now, how does the nervous tissue causes action? We have discussed the importance, the working, functioning of the nervous system. The nervous system, it gives an order to the muscles. The muscles, they create a movement. But how this movement is created? So you have to fold your hand like this. That means your muscles, they have to be contracted here in your triceps and biceps. Contraction and relaxations make you to stretch, open your hand and take in your hand. That means the muscles, they are to be contracted and relaxed. How this happens? What is the link between the nervous system and that muscle contraction, relaxation? How the muscle is able to contract and relax like that? See, when some command is given from your nervous system, from your brain to your hand, that means the muscle of your hand, your muscle is made up of muscle fiber. So first the electrical impulse, the information in the form of electrical impulse reaches the muscle fiber. It reaches the muscle fiber. So what happens in the muscle fiber? Now the shape of the muscle fiber has to be changed. So the electrical impulse, it has to create a change in the shape of muscle fiber. How it happens? And the muscle fiber is made up of muscle proteins. So the muscle proteins are the special molecules which can change their shape and arrangement. Their arrangement they can change, their shape also they can change. So that is the ability of the proteins present in the muscle proteins. So when there is an electrical impulse reaching the muscle fiber, the muscle proteins present in the muscle fiber, they change their arrangement as well as their shape. So by that, the muscle is shortened or stretched, relaxed or contracted, because the molecules in the muscle, the protein molecules in the muscle, they change their shape or arrangement because of the electrical impulse. So when the muscle is shortened, the hand stretched in. So in this way, the muscle shape changes by contraction and relaxation. So by that you can create a movement. In this way, the nervous tissue, it can cause action. That means it can cause movements in our body parts. So far we have seen the movements in animals and how the movements are controlled and coordinated in animals. Animals have got a specialized tissue called nervous tissue by which they can control and coordinate their movements. Now let us see about the plant and how the coordination takes place in the plants. First, we look at the movements in plants. Do plants produce any movements? Yes, of course, we have already discussed in the beginning of the lesson. We find certain movements in plants. We have taken movement as a basic character by which we distinguish a living and a non-living thing. So definitely in plants also we observe movements. Let us see what are the movements. Say for example, the first example we take here is example 1, touch me not plant, chui mui or touch me not mimosa plant. It has got leaves this way, and when you touch the leaves with your finger, the leaves, they droop or close. So there you find a kind of movement. So here we observe movement in plants. The movements in plants are sometimes, or in some examples, they are associated with growth. Sometimes they are not associated with growth. See the example 2. Seed grows to a plant. The seed coat breaks and the radical, whatever that comes out the root, it grows down, the shoot comes up in the direction of light. So here there is a movement, the movement is associated with growth. You stop at the growth of the seed, there is no movement. Here the movement in plant is associated with growth. Here in case of example 1, the movement is not associated with growth. So in plants we see the movements which are growth related and not related to growth. Two kinds of movements. Movements that are linked up with growth, that are not linked with growth. These kind of movements are observed in plants. But how these movements are controlled, how they are coordinated. So we know the fact that they do not have any nervous tissue as like in animals. Let us see how these movements are controlled in plants. So here in the example 1, we have seen a kind of movement in plant, and what kind of movement it is a quick movement, just like the reflexes in animals. So this is, we can take it as response to stimuli. What is the stimuli? You are touching the leaves. What is the response? The leaves, they droop. That is the response. You can compare this with a reflex in your body in case of humans. Touching a hot object, removing hand quickly. So here the response to stimuli. In animals we have taken the touching a hot object. Here in case of plants, touch to leaves. Here response, leaves droop or close. This is what happens. The leaves, they fold, they get closed. That's what happens here. But in both the cases, in case of plants and in case of animals, if you observe both the cases, is the way of execution of the movement is same? No. Here this is achieved by the nervous tissue. Here there is no nervous tissue. You are touching, you are putting your finger on the leaves are drooping. That means they are sensing that. How they are sensing? Do they have any sensory neurons? No. Do they have any receptors? No. The plants, they don't have nervous system, but even then they have some kind of electrochemical means of communication. But it is one thing is clear, that they have some communication. Of course, the nervous system is absent. Of course, the neurons are absent. Even in the plants, they have some communication. They are able to recognize the change in the environment. That is by some electrochemical means. In this way, the information is gathered by the plant. Here, in case of touching a hot object, your neurons, your receptors will take the information by the sensory neuron to the spinal cord. But in case of plants, some electrochemical means help to recognize the stimuli. Then how the response, the movement is produced? Do they have any muscles, muscle cells, muscle fibers, muscle proteins? We have seen in animals, the muscle proteins are able to rearrange themselves and change their shape. So by that the muscle shape is changed and movement is caused. That is the case in animals. But in case of plants, how the movements are caused? Here again the movements in the cellular level. But here it is not because of any muscle proteins. The plant cells do not have any muscle proteins to change their shape to cause the movement. Here in case of plant cells, the movements are caused because due to the change in the arrangement of cells, the increase or decrease in the size of the cell by the amount of water present in the cell. The best example we can see that there is stomata. You have already studied about the stomata. The stomata are the pores present on the leaf which helps in absorption of carbon dioxide and oxygen from the environment here. So the stomata is a pore which is guarded by guard cells. When there is heavy light, more temperature, then these guard cells, they close the stomata. So the guard cells, they operate, they create some movement, opening and closing, opening and closing. How this opening and closing is achieved, how the movement is achieved there? The movement is achieved because of the amount of water present in the stomata. When the water levels are less, the stomata, they close. When the water level is high, when the plant is having sufficient water, then they become stiff and turbid. They open the stomata. So here the movement is caused here in parts of the plant, that is by changing the shape of the cell. It is done by the amount of water in case of plants. But in case of animals, the muscle fiber, it changes its shape because of the muscle proteins. They are able to change their shape. At the same time, they are able to change the arrangement. So that is the basic difference which we have to identify here between the animals and in case of the plants. So in this way, the movements are controlled in plants and here. These movements are as a response to the stimuli. But how the movements related to growth are controlled and coordinated in plants. So here in the beginning we have discussed that the movements in plants are of two kinds. One not linked up with growth, the second one is linked up with growth. Not related to growth, response to stimuli. This is the case. Here we learned how these kind of movements are produced. Now let us see how the movements are produced which are related to or which are associated with growth. Now let us see the different kinds of movements that are produced in plants and how these kind of movements are produced. Movement due to growth. Here the responses are of different types. Some responses in plants are very quick, some responses are slow, some responses are very slow. Even though they are a response to a stimulus, it happens very slowly. Now let us see the case here. Response to different things like light, gravity, touch, water, chemicals. We call these kind of slow movements as tropic movements which are observed in plants. Tropic movements. So plants respond to this light, gravity, that is towards the earth, touch, water, chemicals. You see the light, we call it as phototropism. Plants respond to light. They should always grow towards the sunlight It is because of some chemical compound present in its tip. But we see the movement of stem growing towards sunlight. Roots always grow away from the sunlight. So here the phototropism is again two kinds, positive and negative. So the roots, they move away from the sun, that is negative zeotropism. The shoot, it grows towards the sun, that is positive phototropism. So the tropic movements towards the light are called as phototropism. The second thing is gravity, that is earth. The roots always grow towards the earth. They grow down, not up. The shoot grows away from the earth. So in this case, the shoot, it shows negative geotropism, away from the earth. The roots, they show positive geotropism, moving towards the earth. That is gravity. And again, if you see that the roots, they grow towards the water. So this is the earth. The roots may grow in this direction towards the earth. Sometimes here there is a water source. The root, it grows towards the water. The roots of the plants and trees, they move in the ground. Underground, the roots will move. Movement is in search of water. So that is called as hydrotropism. So these are the three familiar known tropisms, and what are the other two? Thigmotropism, touch, chemotropism, chemicals. So touch is also in case of sometimes here we see that the response, quick response, when we touch the mimosa plant, the leaves, they droop. That is a response to touch. And sometimes we see that the plant, it moves towards an object, that is to coil for support, tendrils. If you see the creepers, climbers, they have a soft thread-like structure called tendril. These tendrils, they grow towards an object, they coil around the object, and they get the support to grow up, grow straight, because they do not have strength to go straight, grow straight. So they take help of these other objects with the help of tendrils. And again there, a tendril, it coils around some object. How can it coil? How does it know? How it produces that coiling? So thigmotropism, that is the tendrils. Some plants like creepers, climbers, they have got very weak stems, so by that they cannot stand erect on their own because of less strength. They need some support, so they crawl or they climb other trees with the help of tendrils. They produce fine thread-like structures called tendrils. So these tendrils, they coil around an object. How they are able to coil around an object? The tendril, it comes in contact with some object. The part of the tendril which is in contact with the object, it grows slower. The part of the tendril which is not in contact with the object, it grows faster. So by that it takes turn. So by that it can coil around the object. In this way it holds, it gets the support and it climbs. So that is kind of a tropic movement we find. The other one is chemotropism. Here the example is, you know the process of fertilization in flower. When the pollen grain reaches the stigma of the flower, the female reproductive part here. So here the pollen tube, it grows down, it extends and it goes down into the ovule. The pollen tube is growing, it is going into the ovary, but how do it know the direction? How it can go inside? What stimulus is directing the pollen tube to grow towards? It is because of the chemicals present inside the ovary. So the tropism towards the tropic movements towards the chemicals is called as chemotropism. So in this way, various kinds of tropic movements are observed in plants, and all these tropic movements are associated with growth. So we have seen how the information about the stimulus is communicated, is transferred to different parts, and how it is processed and how responses are produced in animals as well as in plants. So we have seen in animals there is a nervous tissue in which the information is carried in the form of electrical impulses. But whereas in case of plants, there is no nervous tissue to do such work. there some kind of electrochemical or chemical messengers, they take the information. Now let us see, once again we'll just observe actually how the communication is done in the bodies of multicellular organisms, in both plants as well as in animals. Here we see the reflexes or the quick responses shown by these organisms. Both plants and animals, they show the responses, sometimes very quick response like a reflex action, sometimes slow response, slow movements, sometimes very slow movements. Growth is very slow. You can't observe with your naked eye how the plant is growing up. You need to observe a time-lapse video which is shot for some 2 days, 3 days or 1 week or 1 month. The camera is fixed at one point and it is shot how the plant is growing, how the flowers are blooming. You can find these videos in YouTube. Then only it is possible to see the movement there in a time-lapse video. But here we cannot see because it is very slow. And even the communication, the passage of information from the source of that stimuli where it is received and to the other point is also very slow. In animals, we have seen the electrical impulses are the major means of communication. But if you see only the electrical impulses, in animals, the communication of information is done only by the electrical impulses or anything else. There is something else. What is that? Why only these electrical impulses are not sufficient for the communication? Electrical impulses, they cannot pass to each and every cell of our body. They can carry the information. They are connected to various parts of our body. Even then, cell cannot continuously transmit the electrical impulses. And one more thing, only the nerve cells can carry out the electrical impulses. The other tissues, the other cells present in our body, they cannot communicate electrical impulses. Muscle cells do not have any electrical impulses. So these electrical impulses are not supplied to each and every cell. They are not passed to each and every cell because nerve cells are not connected to each and every cell of our body. So these are not sufficient to communicate between the different cells. But how the communication is done in multicellular organisms? What is the alternate? The other thing is chemical communication or chemical coordination. Certain chemicals are produced in the bodies of plants and animals. These chemicals, they are transferred from one part to another part along with the other transported materials like water and minerals and whatever are there. So they are carried by the transport system of the body. They are carried to different cells. The cells will be having the specific receptors for this material, for this chemical. They receive it. Then the information is communicated to that cell. This is called as chemical coordination, which is observed in both plants and animals. Especially in plants, only the chemical coordination takes the major part of communication. Plant growth is totally controlled by these chemical messengers present in the plant body. Generally, we use a term for these chemical messengers, that is the hormones. The hormones that are found in plants are called as phytohormones. Phytohormones. Even in animals, even in case of human beings, hormones play a major role in your growth, in your development. So in many of the various life activities and execution of various changes in your body at different stages of your life, all these are controlled and coordinated by the hormones. Those are the animal hormones. The hormones that are present in the plants are called as phytohormones. We discussed that plants are able to produce responses to light, to gravity, to water. So in the previous class we discussed, plant is able to show response to all such stimuli, that is because of certain chemical compounds, chemical messengers in the body of the plant. Those are nothing but phytohormones. Now let us see some plant hormones and how they help the plant in various situations. So the phytohormones, the major phytohormones here we have auxins, cytokinins, gibberellins and abscisic acid. So let us see the first one, auxin. This is a very important hormone found in the plant. It helps the plant to grow in its height. So the height of the plant increases, that is due to the hormone auxin. And not only that, this auxin is responsible for the plant to show phototropism. Plants, they show response to light called as phototropism. Phototropism, that means tendency towards light. Sunlight, here is the sunlight, here is the window. So here is the sun, here you have a potted plant. So here, this is the direction of sunlight and here is the plant. Naturally, what happens? The shoot of the plant always bends towards sunlight. This is phototropism. That means the stem, it bends towards sunlight. It takes a bend like this. So how this happens? How can a plant bend towards this sun? I already told you that the plants, they show this phototropism, that is because of the chemical substance present in their bodies, that is the auxin. Where is this auxin found? Auxin is found in the tip of the shoot of a plant. Say for example, we take this part, I am drawing a magnified view of this tip. This is the tip of the plant. Here is the sun. So this direction. Here is the tip. I told you that auxins are found in the tip of the plant. Here is the auxin. Now here is the sun. What happens? Now this is the stimulus sunlight. The auxin present here in the tip of the shoot, it diffuses into the other side. Means the whole auxin will come to this other half. The half which is away from the sunlight. This half of the tip is towards the sunlight. I am drawing a dotted line. So in this half there is no auxin. All the auxin is diffused to the other side. Which side? On which side there is no sunlight. So sunlight is a stimulus. When there is sunlight, the auxin which is present on this side, it diffuses to the other side. So the concentration of the auxin increases in this part. So this part, whatever this part is there, this part increases in its size. So what happens? Here you can find the growth. The growth is increased on this side. Say for example, this is left, this is right. So whatever the auxin is there on the left side, all the auxin is migrated or diffused to the right side. So the right side of the shoot tip is grown much bigger compared to the left side. So automatically what happens? It takes a bend like this. So in this way, the plant is able to bend towards sunlight. This is what happens. And here, who is the responsible one? The chemical messenger? Auxin is responsible. Auxin is also responsible to increase the height of the plant. And whereas the next one, cytokinins. Cytokinins, it helps in the cell division. The name itself tells. Cyto means cell. Kinesis means division, breaking. Kinesis means breaking. Cyto means cell. So this is the hormone which helps in cell division. And this hormone is mostly found in the places where there is a rapid cell division. Where is the rapid cell division? In which part of the plant you find cell division? So here the cytokinins, they help in the cell division. These cytokinins are found in the fruits and seeds. Because in case of the fruits they grow rapidly. So for the rapid growth, a lot of cell division is required and cytokinins are found in the fruits. In the same way, when the seeds are sprouting, when they are becoming into seedlings and plants, then there is rapid cell division, there you find cytokinins. So the next hormone, gibbelins. The gibbelins, they help the plant's growth in widthwise. The stem of the plant grows because of the gibbelins. So auxins and gibbelins, they help in the growth of the plant. Auxins help in increasing the length of the plant, means for the cell elongation, auxins are helpful. and for the width of the plant, the Gibbelins, they help, and for cell division, the Cytokinins, they take the role of cell division. So in this way, different hormones help the plant in its growth. Is there any hormone to stop the growth of plant? Yes, abscisic acid. Abscisic acid, it works in reverse direction. That means it helps the plant to stop its growth and shed the leaves. So when there is a little amount of water, scarcity of water, when there is no sunlight in certain seasons, like in which seasons you see the leaves falling? In autumn season, the leaves fall down. The fall down of the leaf is because of this abscisic acid. And even when the leaves are yellow, that means when the leaves are ripen, then the leaf has to be shed down. Otherwise, the leaf consumes the energy present in the plant. It is useless. When the leaf turns to yellow, it is useless for the plant because it cannot prepare any food. So the leaf has to fall down. So this abscisic acid, it forms a layer between the stalk of the leaf and stem. So by that it detaches the leaf and see that makes the leaf to fall down. So that is what done by the abscisic acid. So these are the various plant hormones that help the plant in its growth, in movements, as well as in controlling their various activities of their life processes are coordinated by these phytohormones. Now let us look at the case of animals. So we have seen that hormones, the phytohormones, are found in plants that help the plants in producing movement or responses or their growth. So the coordination in plants is done by certain chemicals called phytohormones. But whereas in case of animals, we have a nervous tissue, very well developed, complex organs, then why do we need a chemical communication even though you have a very good nervous system? Why can't you control and coordinate with the help of nervous system? What is the necessity of a chemical coordinating system in our bodies? Let us see. Hormones in animals. So here we are discussing the use of chemical means of communication. This can be best explained with an example given in your book. There are certain situations in which your nervous system alone cannot help you to face the situation. Example, there is a furious mad dog in front of you. It's ready to attack you. It's very furious. You could see its shiny, bright, sharp teeth. Anytime it may bite you. So anytime it may jump onto you. It is just in front of you. You have seen that. Your eyes, your sense organs received the information. Yes, it is a very furious dog. I'm able to understand. No doubt it will surely attack in a very few seconds of time. I know that. So the information is carried to the brain. Now, in that situation, what kind of response you can produce? If your brain or spinal cord gives some kind of electrical impulse to your hand muscle, if you say like this, will the dog stop? Will it go? No. It will take an advantage of catching your hand. It is not possible. In such situation, you have two options, flight or fight. You have to run away from that spot very quickly, or you have to fight with that. So fighting with such a furious, mad dog, you can't imagine that. If it is some other animal, of course you have an opportunity or chance to fight with that. Either to fight or to flight, run away. You need your body to be completely ready for the situation. If you wanted to run away from that, your body must be alert, ready, everything must be ready. So in such situations, the nervous system cannot send the electrical impulse to each and every cell of your body. It cannot do the preparation part, instant preparation. Very quickly all your systems must be alert, or your muscles or your bones or whatever, your breathing, everything. Because to do this flight, to run away, what you need a lot of energy immediately. All your muscles must be packed up with energy. You need a lot of oxygen because you have to run. So you need more and more oxygen in your blood. And your blood, all the blood must be streamed to the muscles. Wherever the blood is going in the digestive system or in the skin, different parts, where it is presently not necessary. So all that blood must be forced to the muscles, because the muscles are to be supplied with more and more oxygen and glucose. then only your hands and legs are ready to run. So that kind of preparation is required, which cannot be done by the nervous system. So there you need some chemical messenger, that is adrenaline. Adrenaline. This is a hormone which is produced in your body in the adrenal glands that are present on the top of your kidneys. You have 2 adrenal glands on the top of each of your kidney. You know that we have a pair of kidneys, 2 kidneys. Both the kidneys on their top, they have a cap-like structure. If this is the kidney, on the top you have a cap-like structure in which adrenal gland is found, and it secretes a hormone called adrenaline. Now this adrenaline, where it should go? It should go to your muscles to increase the level of oxygen, to increase the level of glucose. The adrenaline, it should go to your blood. It should go to your liver. Any stored foods are there, convert all the stored foods to glucose and push the glucose to the blood, supply it to the muscles. Your blood pressure has to be controlled. Your breathing rate has to be controlled. More breathing, more number of times, to take up more oxygen, to keep the oxygen levels available for the muscles for the situation. So all this is achieved by this hormone adrenaline. You can call it as a fight or flight hormone. So this adrenaline makes our body ready. The blood which is going to the digestive system is controlled. There the arteries are contracted and that blood is also diverted to muscles. Muscles are given the top priority here because they are very necessary to run. If you take some 3 to 4 steps and get tired, the dog will bite you. So that is a furious dog, so energized, mentally retarded dog. Surely it will have more energy levels. So your energy levels must be higher than the dog, then only you can escape. Otherwise you will be caught. So all your muscles must be loaded with glucose and oxygen. Your blood pressure should be controlled accordingly, and heartbeat and your breathing. So everything, the body must be alert to the situation, and it should be done so quickly, spontaneously, instantly, which can be achieved by adrenaline. So the hormones in animals help the organisms in such situations. Not only that, the hormones in organisms help in the growth. Various stages of our growth is coordinated, controlled by hormones. Say you are born. When you are born as a baby, you don't know anything, just you simply produce responses to the light. If the newborn baby is brought under a big light, she can't see the light, she cries. The baby, when he or she feels hunger, cries. If somebody pinches the rosy cheek, they cry. They produce such kind of simple responses. And they don't know anything. But you see, after 6 months, they start producing teeth. They start tumbling, start trying to crawl. How this happens? At every stage. Then at 6 months you can see that the teeth are coming. Means who initiates, who triggers that the teeth has to come at this stage. At particular stage they start learning walking. They grow into kids. They become into adolescents. Many changes happens in the bodies of males and females, boys and girls during the stage of adolescence. And you see the girls. So in their bodies various changes takes place when they come to a certain age. And even you see that when females become pregnant, they carry the baby, they deliver the baby, they feed the baby. So for all this, the body is changed accordingly. So how these changes are happened? These changes are under the control of these hormones. So our growth, our development, and the coordination of various life processes is under the coordination of these hormones. These hormones are coordinating the various life activities in animals. So they are very, very, very important. Hormones, they play an important role in the coordination and control of various life processes. The nervous system, it is up to certain thing. The nervous system controls the movements, the physical movements of the muscles, various muscles of our body. And it can help in sensation of pain and pressure and other things. And at the same time, it can protect from dangerous stimuli. But internally, various life processes are well coordinated by this hormonal system. Now let us see some hormones in humans and how they are helpful for the various life processes in case of human body. So let us see what are the human hormones, the endocrine secretions present in the human bodies. The hormones are secreted by glands. Gland is a mass of tissue which is secretory in nature. So these glands, they secrete the chemical substances. We have different type of glands in our body. Say for example, salivary glands secrete saliva. Lacrimal glands secrete tears. In this way, different glands, they secrete different substances. But all glands do not secrete hormones. These glands are different. Salivary glands are different. They don't secrete any hormone. They secrete only the saliva. There are some glands in our body which secrete hormones. Those glands are called as endocrine glands or ductless glands. Salivary glands are here. Saliva is secreted here. From here to here there is a pipe. That means the gland is secreting through a pipe into the mouth. So this is a gland with duct. It does not secrete hormone. Hormones are secreted by ductless glands. Pituitary gland is here. Growth is required in your bone. Then how this pituitary is connected to here? No tube here from pituitary to your hand. There is no special channel. The pituitary secretes the substance into the blood. Along with the blood, through the circulatory system, the pituitary reaches this bone. There the growth happens. So hormones are secreted into the blood. They are produced in very small quantity. Hormones are very concentrated. Even though little amount, trace amount is secreted, it shows very big impact on the body. So hormones are so effective in affecting the growth patterns of our body. So let us see, the hormones are secreted by gland. Now here in this picture we are going to locate where are the glands in our body. Let us start with head. On the floor of the brain there we have a pea-sized gland. The gland which is in the size of a small pea. That is the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, it secretes hormones like growth hormone which affect the growth of your body. Everybody attains some height, 5 feet, 5.5, 6, likewise. So you attain the height because of the growth which is provided by this pituitary hormone. So if the pituitary hormone is effective, if the pituitary gland is effective and produces growth hormone, you will have good height. So it is all under the control of that gland. Don't blame for anything else. So the gland also functions depending upon its genetical factor. So genetically, if you acquire that character in your DNA, then definitely the pituitary gland will secrete more. Maybe it may be based on various conditions. But the thing is that the pituitary gland, even though you eat a lot of food there, you may not find proper height. So you can't blame the food. It is dependent on the pituitary gland. So pituitary gland, it secretes growth hormone which affects your growth. The pituitary hormone, the pituitary gland, it controls all the other glands of our body. That is the reason the pituitary is called as master gland, because it itself produces some hormones. At that same time, it controls other glands. Now let us see the glands that are located in our neck region. Here in our neck region, we have important hormone called as thyroid. So this thyroid, it controls the metabolism of our body. So in every person's body, some heat is generated. In every person's body, in the cell, cellular activities are carried out. So how actively your activities are carrying on, that much metabolism you will have. Some people may have higher metabolic rate, some people may have low metabolic rate. The metabolic rate is controlled by the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland secretes hormone called thyroxine. To secrete the thyroxine, the thyroid must have one important substance, iodine. If iodine is not there, thyroid cannot produce thyroxine properly. If thyroxine is not there, it may lead to a disease called goiter. The eyes become this much bigger. Protruded eyes. The eyes appear like they are coming out of your eye sockets. So some kind of abnormalities are seen. That is due to the lack of thyroxine. So thyroid gland problems, recently you hear the advertisement, the hospitals advertising about the thyroid problem in females, that is at the age of 30-35, they'll be having some problems. because of this imbalance in the thyroid gland secretion. So for good amount of thyroxine, you need to have iodine in your body. From where do you get to your body? That is through the food. But here the fact is, iodine is not found in all the food items, whatever we eat. It is rarely found. Mostly it is found in the seafoods. Some people may not eat seafoods. Some are vegetarians. They don't take any seafood. Then how do they get iodine into their bodies? That is the reason the government instructed the salt manufacturers to add some iodine in the salt. That is the reason you see that iodized salt, I Shakti, some names I Shakti. What is I Shakti? It is iodized Shakti. That means iodine is added to the salt. So when you add salt, because we add salt to all the food items we prepare. So in this way we are adding iodine to the food items. So the food items are taken by all the people, whether they are vegetarian, non-vegetarian, if they like some fruits, some vegetables, whatever you may eat, you are adding the salt which contains iodine that is supplied to the thyroid to prepare the thyroxine. Beside the thyroid, attached to the thyroid, you find small parathyroid glands. So here in the neck region, we see thyroid as well as parathyroid. These are common in both female and male. I have drawn two figures here, female and male. In both the cases, you see the pituitary, you see the parathyroid and thyroid, and come down. So in the stomach region, in the lower abdomen, we have an important organ cum gland, that is pancreas. Pancreas helps in your digestion by secreting pancreatic juice. At the same time, the pancreas, it acts as a gland, it secretes hormones. What hormones? Insulin and glucagon. Insulin is a very, very important hormone in our body. If insulin is not produced, you are under a condition called diabetes. Diabetes or sugar disease. You might have seen sugar patients, people suffering from diabetes. So they have high amounts of glucose in their bodies. It is because of lack of this insulin. So the insulin has to be secreted by the pancreas. If pancreas is damaged, if pancreas is not properly functioning, it is not producing any insulin. So the glucose levels in your blood rises. How? You have eaten your meal. You have taken rice with sambar, with some curry, some halwa, something there, some sweet in your food, some banana, some curd. Such a diet you have, such a meal you have taken. Once the meal is taken into the body, the food is converted to glucose. Most of the items are carbohydrates. You have eaten rice, you have eaten banana, you have eaten potato, you have eaten, all these are carbohydrates. Immediately all these carbohydrates are turned to glucose. The glucose enters into the blood. So the blood is full of glucose. If the glucose levels are high in blood, the glucose is supplied to each and every cell. Finally, it is filtered out in the urine and it is sent out. So glucose is not utilized in your body, so you don't get any energy out of that food. This excess glucose will damage your cells and kidneys. That is what happens in sugar disease. So what should happen? If you have excess amount of glucose in your blood, what should happen? How it should be controlled? The excess glucose should be stored somewhere. That is done by the insulin. Right? So you have a lot of coins. Some 10,000 coins you have. You sprinkled all the coins all around in your room. Definitely you will lose some. You have to gather all those things at one place and store them properly. In the same way, here the insulin, it does the work. You have a lot of money in your hands. You cannot handle that much of money. You have 1 crore rupees. You will deposit in a bank safely. Whenever you want, you will draw some amount. Using a card, you will draw some amount for your use. In the same way, whenever we take the food, excess amount of glucose is produced in the bodies. This excess glucose is stored in the liver. Liver is a bank of energy. Liver is a bank of vitamins, minerals. So in the liver, the glucose is converted to glycogen and the glycogen is stored in the liver. Who will do the task? Insulin. If it is absent, glucose is not turned to glycogen. It is moving in and around all the body parts, finally excreted out. The person does not get any energy. He becomes weak. Even though he eats the food, cells and other body parts are damaged. That is sugar disease. So the pancreas is very, very important organ. It also secretes one more hormone called glucagon. Glucagon acts in the opposite way to the insulin. You have not taken anything there, you are fasting. You have some puja, till afternoon you are not eating anything. But your cells, your body needs glucose. So the glucose has to be supplied. Then the other one, who is that? Glucagon. This glucagon, it converts the stored food in the liver to glucose again and it puts in the blood. So these two hormones work in opposite, antagonistic way. Insulin, glucagon. So these two hormones are secreted by pancreas. Now come down. On the kidneys we have adrenal glands. Already I told you about adrenal glands. They secrete adrenaline, which helps in some kind of situations, preparing your body to escape or to fight. So that is all done by the adrenal glands. Adrenaline is secreted. So all these are common in both male and female. And come down, reproductive hormones and glands. These are different in male and female. Because males, the reproductive hormones are testosterone. Testosterone helps in producing secondary sexual characters. Testosterone helps in producing male sex cells. So it helps in the male body development and production of reproductive cells, testes. So these testes, they produce testosterone, that is the reproductive hormone found in males. And ovaries are found in females, which secrete two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen is the hormone that helps in the development of secondary sexual characters, development of reproductive organs. Progesterone helps during the process of pregnancy, lactation, delivery. In all such cases, that hormone helps. So ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, testes produce testosterone. So these are the various kinds of endocrine glands and their secretions and how they control various reactions, life processes, exactly to say biochemical reactions in our body are controlled by these hormones. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel to get more videos on CBSE syllabus.